did you need to learn SQL Advanced? You showed up here today as a beginner learning SQL Advanced, and I just commend you for like clicking the video, right? Some people would have been like, you know what, I got enough. Who needs the advanced techniques? I don't need it. But let me just explain this to you. No, you're not going to be advanced in 5 days, but you're going to be able to understand some advanced concepts, some topics. You'll be able to read what it even says. And sometimes that's enough to be able to read a query and say, oh, I can see what that block is doing. Like I know that's a common table expression. I can see they're using a window function to rank the list. Even just that knowledge right there sets you above the crowd even without writing a single lick of the code. If you can just read the code, you're already doing so much better. So today we're going to do that. We're going to teach you how to read advanced SQL code and maybe do a little bit yourself. Welcome back to day 5. My name is Crystal Bray and I will be your instructor. Today showing you some SQL advanced techniques, tips, and tricks. And don't worry, this is not our last day together because I know it's day 5 and you're thinking it's a 5-day course, Crystal. What comes next? Well, tomorrow I'm going to do a bonus day because you know what? You're going to fall into some traps and things are going to happen to you and errors are going to be abound and you're going to need some troubleshooting guides. You need some help. In fact, I'm going to show you where I look for help. Google, Stack Exchange, ChatGPT. What questions do I ask? Right? So let's get you out of the rut. So tomorrow, day back for a bonus day. I mean, unless you're going to have perfect SQL queries every time, then you don't need the bonus day. But I think you're going to need the bonus day. Okay, so that's tomorrow. But today, we're focusing on some advanced tips and tricks. Okay, before we get into it, you know I like to go to the whiteboard for SQL Advanced. It's one of the things when my mentor does, he goes to whiteboard. I love just breaking it down simply before we get into the technical details, right? So, okay, you might have a table or a query that you wrote for sales stats, top sales, average sales, just sales information. And then you might have customer demographics, like their age range or how many times, like their favorite product that they've calculated, right? You go through and calculate what's their favorite product. You have categories. You might have done this already using all the other tips we learned. But now I want a combo of the sales stats by the customer's favorite item. And like it starts to get really complicated because now you're like, well, how would I do that in one query? And there are ways to do it in one query. Just to tell you a key term, subqueries is something I'm not going to go over in this series because sometimes you really don't need them. I prefer a CTE. I actually rarely use a subquery myself, and I've been a data scientist, a data analyst. I've been in product for like the last 5-6 years. And so you really don't need a subquery if you know how to do a common table expression. And I guess you can say the opposite too. Oh, in this example, you would have needed 3 different queries. But what if I told you you could actually do one single query and a common table expression? So we're going to go over doing one single query and a common table expression. If we recall from yesterday, I told you we could use this query. We separated cells into the high, medium, and low category, and we could turn it into a common table expression. So let's say I wanted to count the number of cells that fell into the category high, medium, or low. How would I do that? Should I just make this query even more complicated? Well, actually, what's really great is to turn this into a common table expression. So in this example, we're going to use the common table expression, or called a CTE, to extend our previous analysis. We're going to find how many cells can fall into the categories of high, medium, low. Okay, to do that, we're going to make a common table expression, and it's almost like a temporary table. So I'm going to say with, let's call it cells categories, make it plural, as. So now this is a common table, right? And that's really to say that we're kind of inserting this whole block of text. And to check to make sure it's working, you can do something what I like, which is just a select star. And now we can query our common table expression. So inside the query, we can reference our results. But I want to sum over the sales category. So I want to sum over sales category. So I have my from table, but I want to sum up how many times it's high, medium, or low. Look at, let's say, sales categories here. Start what am I going to select? What do I want to see? I want to see how many fall into these categories. So I want to break it up by the category. So I want to look at sales category, one column. I want to count, right? I want to count how many times things are happening. So I'm going to count sales category. Now there's two ways to do this. I can count the sales category, right, field, or because I just want to count each row where this happens, I can count the ID. So both of these will work. And this is a aggregate function, so I'm going to use a group by column 1. Okay, we can see that the sales category for high, medium, and low, the count is 144. Now, it's really exciting. What we can see here is I have the ability to not only make a query, add my logic on what I thought was high, medium, or low on the sales category. Now I can count on it. So now I'm seeing some sales statistics, and we're getting into a little more complexity, but all these things you know now, and you can do them in a couple of lines and fairly quickly. Let's go ahead and look at a common table expression for the total sales by each salesperson. Total sales by each salesperson. So we're going to be doing some aggregate work, right? So remember grouping, group by, having, all those things. Let's recall day 3 in our memory, or look at our cheat sheet. That works too. So I want to see the total sales for each salesperson. So I can see in the orders table, I have sales and salesperson ID, but in the salesperson's table, I do not have sales. So I'm actually going to have to use the orders table here. Let's see here. I want to have from the orders table as O. Then I'm going to be doing a select statement. And I just want the O dot salesperson ID. And then I just want to do a sum sales with an S. Trust me, if you ever get an error because you missed an S, I missed an S the other time I ran this earlier, equals total sales. It happens to us all. So that's there. And then remember, another thing, you got to do a group by. Either say column 1, right? Or we can say O dot salesperson ID. I just want to show you these are the same thing. You can do column 1 or this. Now, this is great, but what if I want to find the name of the salesperson? I want the name of the salesperson. It's like, oh, well, total sales here and the name. I could do a subquery and some other things. I could do that very simply, or I could make this into a common table expression. So I'm going to do with total sales, or I will say top sales, not to get confused with the other name. Top sales as this expression here. Show you that you can use this expression now, kind of like I would call like a temporary table. Let's just do a select star from our new temporary table, top sales. Okay, you can see that. Now let's do this where maybe total sales is greater than 1,000, right? Execute. You see that? I only have 2 sales greater than 1,000. Very useful, very quick. Okay. What if I want the name of the salesperson? Now, what if I want the name of the salesperson? So top sales only has a salesperson ID and the orders table doesn't have their name. I can actually let's do an inner join. Let's do it with the salesperson's table because I believe that has their name and the salesperson ID. So name and salesperson ID. Join on the salesperson table as S. Let's just check to make sure that's with an S. Yes, it's with an S. All these pluralities. And we're going to join it on, this says TS, top sales TS. On TS dot salesperson ID is equal to S dot salesperson ID. If you notice, I left the where clause, right? It's going to work just fine. We're actually just going to get the name of the top salesperson. So now let's do TS dot salesperson ID as one of the columns. I also want to get total sales, so TS dot total sales. Don't forget that. Also want to know the name, right? So I want S dot name. Okay, let's see. Great. I know the top sales folks. It's Michael Brown and Sophia Lee. Now, if I don't want the name to be way back here, it's just move the columns around. So let's put the name up here, S dot name. So even though the sales table's underneath, you can move the columns wherever you want them. And I'll delete the column from here. And I'll execute one more time. And there we go. Salesperson ID, name, and their total sales. So these are our top salespeople. And we used a common table expression right here to give us the total sum cells. And then we added that and then we joined it together with the salesperson's ID. Here you can see that this can enhance the kind of readability and how you can maintain complex queries. There are times when I have like stats sitting here in table expressions, looking at, let's say, customer sales, sales by day, monthly sales, and I have them all in the same query together, really with these common table expression. And in fact, let's do one now. Let's actually do one where there's multiple tables for a common table expression. We want multiple tables. So I'm going to leave my table here. And then let's do sales stats, right? Like I said, let's do some sales stats. So let me erase this for now. I'm just going to make more here. And then I'm going to do sales stats. This is something I definitely would do at work. And they do as, have select. Well, I like to do a from statement first. From the same orders table, and let's just get some common stats from some orders. From orders as some common stats here. Let's say the average of all the sales. Let's also do, let's say, the min cell, lowest cell that we had. And let's also do the max cells that we had, right? And I'm going to call these, do some aliases as average cells. Let's call this min cells. If you don't add an alias, it'll give you a default name that it comes up with. I forget why it chooses that, but I like to just add something that I can remember, right? So I got all that. Great. I'm going to close this out. To check to make sure this is working, I'm going to do a select star from my new common table expression, cell stats. Let's see. There we go. Average cells, min cells, max cells. Right there. And if you notice, I kept the other table, and it kind of is a temporary table that I'm not using right now, but I have access to both of them. I can easily just say top cells here, and now I get the top cells, right? So you see all that just from the same common table expression subset. So now what if I want to know how far above the average cell is the top salesperson? Like, how much better are they really doing? What's the gap between the average cell and that top cell? So let's start here from top cells, right? So top cells, remember where we had as TS, and we had TS dot total sales. It's greater than 1,000. Remember that? Remember these two salesperson's IDs? Okay, so how much further above is it than the average, though? So let's see here, and let's keep going. Let's remember that we wanted the names. So let's do an inner join on the salesperson's table as S. We're going to join on TS dot salesperson ID equal to S dot salesperson ID. Right? Remember that? And that is going to let us do this, where we get TS dot salesperson ID. You can literally rewind a couple of seconds and watch what we just did a second ago. S dot name, and then we're going to do TS dot total sales. But I also want to know how much better is the top sales against the average cell, right? I'm going to join in on the table called sales stats and join every column. And let's see how this looks for a second. Let's just do here. Sales stats, sorry, as SS. And I'm going to show you something. This is called, we can do everything just for a join table. See, SS dot star is everything just for a join table. So we could do star, which would pull everything from all the tables. But what if I want specific columns from just some of the tables that I join, and then all the columns from another table? So let's show you this real quick. Okay, great. So now we see I still get my salesperson ID, name, total sales that we got earlier. But now on every row, I'm joining in and getting the average, min, and max sales. And because I'm not joining on any particular key, it's going to repeat the values again. You can see that here. So now that I know I have this information, what do I want to do with it? I want to actually say, you know what? I want to see how far above total sales are from the average sales. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to get rid of these columns. We know they're going to be the same and we know what they are. I'm going to say, I want to see where total sales minus ss.average sales. I want to see as, sales difference of the top two salespersons. And look at that. We can see the difference. Like then we have, Michael Brown had total sales of almost 3,000 and it's $2,200 above the average sale, right? And then Sophia Lee is $1,300 above the average sale. So you can see we've already gone from doing very simple queries to a lot more complex queries. And here we're using two common table expressions with top sales here. And you saw we did top sales as alias, and then we did a comma, sales stat as its alias, right, for this. And then we use both these tables with our original database table of salesperson to pull in the top salesperson's total sales and how much they were outdoing the average sale. So congratulations, you've done common table expressions. And we're already off to a wonderful start in the advanced series. And like I said, even if you just followed along to be able to read and understand what's happening, you can go back and look through code and say, okay, they have a with statement here. They have a name. They have as. This is a common table expression. Got it. They have another one. It's another one. Got it. And now they're using it in the actual final query. Okay, great. You're following along and you're already doing so much better than day one. Remember that you're already doing so much better than day one. Let's go back to the whiteboard because we still have to do rank functions, right? We still have to do partitions and ranks and window functions all together. And so we're not done yet with advanced SQL. Okay, so we're coming back to the whiteboard because we have to go over window functions before I get into it. And yes, you're like, whoo, Crystal, this is a lot. But you know what? You can pause and come back in just a second, grab a snack. We'll be here. So we have a couple of functions in this window function section. Rank, row number, lag, lead, and dense rank. I'm like, what does that mean? Let's recall our orders table. Do you remember like day 2 when we did joins and we had this orders table? Well, perfect. Let's pull it back and let's use it. So I want to rank the sales. What would I do to rank the sales? And as you can see here, there's $20 and $14 for sales, 6, 23, 14. And it's kind of out of order. What if I wanted to rank it? Well, I can do a rank column on b.cells and it would find that, okay, the top order was sushi, that's 1. Second is pizza, that's 2. And third is a tie for salad on, the 20th of June and then the 15th of July. So that's both 3. And then rice, which was next, instead of calling it 4, it says it's 5. Because out of the order, it's the 5th one, even though there was a tie for 3. You see this sometimes when they do like the U.S. news and ranking for colleges. They're like the top 5 colleges, like 1, 1, 3, 4, 5. And you're like, what happened to number 2? And so there was a tie for number 1. So this is the rank function. Okay, but what about row number? How is row number different? Row number is very interesting. People sometimes use it as a rank. Once they sort the table, then they count the row number. But in reality, it just gives you a unique row number for each row. So row number is going to go from top to bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is very useful if you want to say, refer back to row 5, to row 4, right? Or like I said, you can sort and then use row number, and then it becomes a rank number as well. So there are a couple ways to use row number here, but let's just say it's a unique number for each row. The next thing is lag. What do you think lag means? Lag means what was the previous order, right? What was the previous row about? What was the previous value I'm looking at? You can say the previous month of sales. That's really useful. What was the previous day? That's really useful. Previous like order entry, order number, very useful information. So let's take sales again, the sales column. The previous, right? We don't know what was before the pizza on day 1. So it's going to give us a null. No answer back for that one. But for day 2, previous was 20, and day 3, it was 14, and 4 was 6, and then 5 was 23. So it gives you the previous day sales values, or the previous order sales value, shall I say. So that's lag. What do you think lead is? If that's lag, what's lead? Lead is what's the next sales value in the table? What's the next one in the table? So you can see here that for the first one, it's going to be 14 is the next cell. And then it's going to be 6, and then 23, and then 14. And then for 14, I don't know what comes next. So it's null. So I just don't have another row there, right? This could be useful to say, are the cells leading to something, right? Well, what's the next day? What's the next customer that came after this big customer? So there's lots of ways you can use this kind of this function of lead and lag. And lastly, I'll do dense rank because this is kind of back to our example where in this case, it's still a rank, but it only goes by the next number. So you still have 1 and 2 are the same. 3 are still 14 and 14. But now the next order is not number 5, it's row 4. Because dense rank is going to give everyone a sequential number. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Even though we have a tie for 3, the 4th place is actually the 5th actual sales order. So just to give you a comparison here, dense order versus rank, the differences are going to be that for the rice column, you can see that it's 4 for dense rank and it's 5 for rank. Because rank says, hey, it's actually the 5th sales value, even though there's a tie for 3. Dense rank says, hey, there's a tie for 3, but this is the 4th actual entry. This was the 4th actual sales. So let's go back to SQL Fiddle and let's understand how we can use a rank function. How would we use a rank function? This thing we're going to use is called rank the salespersons based on their total sales. So rank a salesperson based on their total sales. Okay, let's do it again. So build from bottom from, let's say a salesperson based on their total sales. I'm going to use 2 tables. I'm going to use the orders table and I'm also going to use the salesperson's table. So let's salesperson as S. We're going to inner join on the orders as O. And we're going to join on S dot salesperson ID equals to O dot salesperson ID, right? And then I'll say a select statement. I'm probably going to want the salesperson ID, I'll let the S dot name, person name. And then I'm going to want total sales, right? So I'm going to want sum of sales for that person, sum of sales as total sales. So we kind of just did this. I'm just doing it again. And if we ran this query, we're going to get an error, right? Because we missed a group by, and column 1, column 2. Okay. Let's execute. Okay, here we go. So this is great. I have total sales by all the salespersons, right? And I want to know what's the rank. I want to see rank. Now, I knew the top 2 were Michael Brown and Sophia Lee. We saw that earlier. But what if I want to rank everyone, right? Just get them in order and just do a rank column to not have to manually look through. I'm going to do the Windows function here, and I'm going to pull it over. This is one I would suggest, and this if you need to, Google a code and then insert your own values inside there, right? Because it's a little long, and I'm just going to say Google the line item and pull it in. So this case, let's say I Googled it, I pulled it in. Now, I just happen to have the sum of sales here, but let's say you Google it and it says like, it's like use some value, like it'll be like this, value to evaluate or column to evaluate, right? This will be what you pull in from Google. And then you say, oh, okay, cool. You want to evaluate sum of sales that doesn't know what it is yet. I want to evaluate sum of sales. You get this value here as sales rank. So you see that sales rank column, right? It's like I said, like Google, window function for rank, pull in, and just replace your values. That is probably the easiest way. I wouldn't even say remember this whole code. Just Google it each time or use your cheat sheet. Right? It's all there. What's really good about this is that we were able to aggregate total sales per person, rank that value, and identify top and lowest performers, right? All within our SQL query. Now, I know today has been, fairly long already, and we've been doing some really advanced things. We have one more to do. I'm going to show you lag and lead, just because you might not see it often. I haven't seen it very often, but it's very useful. In this case, I want to look at comparing previous and the next sales with lag lead. I want to see the previous sale from the order and the next sale. Now, we saw that in the whiteboard. So you actually kind of have already seen this value. You know how to do it in your head. Let's just do it in SQL. I'm going to come from the orders table, orders as O. And let me look at select, let's just say order ID. And then we'll also look at sales value itself, O.sales. Okay, so this is another one we're going to want to pull over from Google, the aggregate functions. So this is the lag function. And then I'm going to pull over from Google somewhere. Now, as you can see, I already have these functions written down, but I'm just showing you it's okay to pull from Google. And you need this comma to separate this different column. And I'm going to say the lag is the previous sales, as previous sales. And then the lead is as next sales, right? We saw that. Okay, so we can see, let's just learn to read it. This is the lag on the orders table. Let's do O.sales here. And then I'm going to order by, right? Okay, so this should be good. Let's see what happens. Okay, well, this is pretty cool. So we have the lag and the lead, and kind of similar to what we saw before, we see for the lag, there's nothing before the first date. So you get a null value. Always excited to see in real life the examples we have. And then you see the next cell. You can see them at a diagonal, 199, 199, 699, right? You can see them at the diagonal. Whereas the lead, which is the next cell, you can see here, from this is the cell 1999. The next cell is 699. So that's going to be here, the next cell. And then 599, and that's going to be here. And then 269, right? And that's going to be in order ID 3. And you keep going down, but for the last row, you don't know what comes next, right? You don't know what comes next after 269.97. We don't have value for next, so it's null. So this was really great, right? I mean, you've seen a lag, you've seen a lead, you can see previous order IDs. Sometimes if you're doing an aggregate on monthly sales, you can see the previous month of sales, the next month of sales, and a category. You can use that for like month over month values. It starts to get really awesome really fast. Now, let me just stop the screen share here because I gotta tell you, the goal is not to learn advanced analytics. It's to be able to read and be comfortable seeing it, not to be scared by that long line for rank or dense rank or a long line for lag or lead, and to see these extra lines that are not doing anything as a common table expression, right? You want to be able to look at the code and be like, okay, it's starting to make sense. If anything, take a pencil and paper out and write down, like, I think the top of the code might be doing some stat stuff. In the middle here, they're looking at top sales. And then the SQL itself, relates top sales to averages. It's okay to write it out. It's perfectly fine. So today the goal was to learn to read some advanced SQL. It's really just to read it. And yes, if you can, I would also type it out and Google it a little bit, but the goal was to read it, and you've done great. Today is day 5. You've gone from select from where to window functions and common table expressions. You've already advanced so much further. Think about where you were, afraid of SQL, not knowing how to interact with your colleagues, thinking, oh man, like I got to pull my own data. What does that even mean? Can I just download it into Excel or Google Sheets? We have not touched Excel or Google once. And we've done analytics, we've done logic, we found the rank of the top salespersons, all from SQL, and you can do it too. So tomorrow on the bonus day, not only we're going to do troubleshooting, not only we're going to do some common tips and tricks and mistakes and error finding, learning how to use AI, ChatGPT, Claude, those guys to help you out, we're also going to just do one practical example from your work. And you can either do it by paper, you can do it if you have a SQL interface that you're using at work. We're going to walk you through how to find something that you can use at your job and make this real. So that's tomorrow's bonus day. So you don't want to miss the bonus day. Like, come on, you want to make something real. So this is Crystal, the PTO coach. I'm excited to wrap this up tomorrow with you. It's been a lovely 5 days, and I hope you've gained something. And I know you're already on your way to being a more technical leader. Okay, talk soon.